previous lectures we have just got introduced to the uh, advances in metrology. There we discuss the basically related with the CMM, that is a role of coordinate measuring machines, where it is being used. Then same in what conditions the coordinate measuring machines are suitable, that we discussed. Then we discussed the important features of CMM. So what kind of features are desired in a particular type of coordinate measuring machine, that we discussed. Then applications of CMM, areas in which coordinate measuring machine can be used, that we discussed. After that we have gone through the different types of the CMMs. So 4 types of the CMMs are there, that is a cantilever type CMM, bridge type CMM, column type CMM, and gantry type CMM. So we discussed all these CMMs in detail. Basically the measurement is taken by moving the probe in all 3 directions. So this is the probe. So in each case the movement of the probe, how the movement of the probe takes place, that we discussed. So after this we have to study the how the actual CMM is operated, or how it is controlled. Okay, so basically there are 4 types of the controls are common for CMMs, coordinate measuring machines. That is one is a manual, second manual computer assisted, third motorized computer assisted, and fourth is a direct computer controlled. So depending upon the amount of human intervention and amount of computer used for overall working of CMM, based on that this classification is done. So whenever we say that there is a manual control, so it means that in this case the operator has to move the probes for making contact with the workpiece. See, as I told you that in CMM the measurement is done by touching the probe. So the probes have to be touched at proper locations. So this work is done by the operator who is operating the CMM. So that operator will move the probe for making contact with the workpiece in all 3 directions, that is x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis. So so as you can see here, only the most of the work is done by the operator only. That's why it is called as a manual mode. It is called as a manual mode. And once the probe touches the various locations, so that the difference among the contact position of the probes are nothing but the measurements. So that is a manual mode. Then manual computer assisted control. So in this case the computer is used only for the data processing. The computer is used only for the data processing, whereas the rest of the work, the movement of the probe along the workpiece to perform the measurement, is done by the operator. Okay, so it is, you can say it is a mixed type of the mode, that is some part is done by the computer and some part is done by the human. So that's why it is called as a computer assisted manual control. So this is the computer assisted manual computer assisted. Then third one is a motorized computer assisted. So in this system the probes are moved along the machine axis using motors that operate under the guidance of the operator. So here a joystick is used to drive the machine axis, and the operator is going to manipulate the joystick to bring the probe sensor in contact with the workpiece. So here the movement of the probe is done using the joystick. Stepper motors and friction clutches are used for smooth stepwise motion without collision between the probe and the part. Okay, so here the movement of the probe is done by the operator using the joystick with the help of the stepper motor and friction clutches, so that it is ensure that there is no collision between the probe and the workpiece. So that care is taken off. Then the last one, that is called as a direct computer controlled mode of operation of this CMM. So this is the most advanced version, we can say. So it is a, we can say it is a fully programmable, it uses the CAD data to determine where the probe sensor contacts the workpiece, and it collects the measurement data. So here, as you can see, the human intervention in this case is almost, say, it is negligible, it is almost zero. So everything will be automatic, everything will be programmable. The operator has to just run the program only, he has to do nothing. So whenever the computer itself will tell the probe where to touch and when to lift, like that. So then this data is determined by the CAD drawing. So CAD data will tell the probe sensor to contact the workpiece at appropriate positions and collect the measurement data. The fully automated CMM allows the operator to place the workpiece in a fixture or on a work table, and he has to run a stored program. So only the job of the operator is to place the workpiece and run the stored program, collect the data points and generate the output report. So the data points will be collected automatically, report will be generated automatically, everything will be done automatically. Measurement reports can be saved in computer to compile a historical record for the SPC. That is, a SPC means statistical process control. So another SPC is one method for the improvement in the quality, for assessing the quality. So the reports can be saved. So here this is the most advanced CMM, where almost all the activities are carried out automatically by the computer. The only work left with the operator is just load and unload the component, as well as and to run a program. So a program of this DCC machine has three components that we know that it is fully programmable. So what the program contains? Basically, the program of DCC has three components, that is a motion commands or movement commands, then measurement command, and third is a formatting command. So what are these movement commands? So the motion commands or movement commands, they direct the probe to measure they direct the probe to different measurement locations. So these commands will tell the probe to the data collection points. These commands only, movement command or motion commands. Then measurement command control the measuring and inspection function of the machine. Okay, so measurement command will carry out actual measurement, or they will carry out the actual inspection. So they compare the distance traveled with the standard built into the machine for that axis. Suppose if the probe is moving in x-axis, so the probe will compare the distance traveled and with the standard built into the machine. A standard is already there which is built into the machine, so the probe will compare the actual distance traveled with the standard built into the machine, and it will measure that particular output. Third, formatting command. So this command translates the data into a form for display or printout. So it specifies the format in which inspection information is to be presented by the computer. So it is like a, say, post processing. Once the measurement is over, it will print a report which is, say, required in the required format. So these are the different types of the motions. Then types of the probes which are used in CMM. So basically two types of the probes are used, contact type probes and non-contact type probes. So in contact type probes, again there are two types. One is a touch and trigger type probe, and another is a measuring type probe. Whereas in case of non-contact type probes, there is a laser probes and video probes. So it is not necessary to tell that what is a contact type probe and what is a non-contact type probe. In contact type probe, the probe is going to touch the workpiece and take the measurements. Whereas in case of the non-contact type of the probes, there is no contact between the probe head and the workpiece. Okay, so in case of so let us see one by one this again. This is the probe assembly. The term probe, what is this probe? The term probe refers to the entire probe configuration. The term stylus refers to the stem and tip of the probe configuration. So this is the actual probe which is going to touch a particular location, and it is going to record the coordinates. So we are not going into the details of this probe assembly because it is not required, but this is the, you can say, stem of the probe, and you can say this is the tip. So this tip is actually going to touch the workpiece. Okay, and rest of the things are there. Then let us see what is this trigger touch trigger probe, or it is called as a trigger type probe. So as you can see in this trigger type probe, the main feature of these systems are shown in this figure, say A and B. So in this figure, the buckling mechanism. So here the probe, when the probe is going to touch a particular component, it is going to buckle. Okay, so buckling mechanism is there. That is the basic phenomena. Buckling takes place, and that buckling mechanism is a 3-point bearing. So it is a 3-point bearing, the contacts of which are arranged at 120 degree around the circumference. So you can see outline of this probe head is there. So as you can see here, there is a this probe, and the buckling mechanism is 3-point bearing. So the contacts of which are arranged at 120 degree around the circumference. So these contacts act as a electrical micro switches. So you can see this probe is there. It is like an electrical circuit is there, and this contact acts as a micro switch. So what happens when the head of the probe touches a component, when the head of the probe touches the component in one or more directions, the contact gets lifted. So you can see this contact gets lifted off, and this whatever the current flowing in this circuit, it gets broken. So it is like an electrical switch which is in open condition. Okay, the electrical current is say flowing, but it is continuously flowing when there is no contact between the workpiece and the probe head. But when there is a contact between the head of the probe and the workpiece, this electrical switch, the contact gets lifted off. So it will lift off. So as it gets lift off, this electrical circuit is it gets broken. The current flowing through this circuit is broken, and it generates a pulse. You can see as the circuit is broken, a pulse is generated. So this pulse gives the signal for recording of current coordinate position. So as a pulse is generated, means the probe at that time a signal is provided to this probe, and the probe will start a recording. So it will record the current coordinate position of this particular say location. So at this location, whatever are the coordinates in x, y, z direction, so all those coordinates will be recorded. Okay, so this is the basic theory behind the trigger type probe system. After probing, a pre-stressed spring ensures the perfect zero position of the 3-point bearing. So this is a touch trigger probe, or it is a trigger type probe. Then there is a one more probe which comes under the contact type probe, is called as a measuring type probe. You just go through this sketch. Here in this case, the buckling mechanism of this system, it consists of parallel guideways. You can see here, these are the probes in all three directions, x direction, y direction, and there is one more in z direction. And whenever a probe in particular direction gets touched with the component, okay, so the buckling mechanism will come into picture. And here the buckling mechanism consists of parallel guideways. Okay, as you can see, 1, 2, 3, there are 3 parallel guideways are there, each for each direction. So one guideway for x direction, another guideway for y direction, and third guideway for z direction. Okay, so at the moment of probing, the spring parallelograms are deflected from their initial positions. So as I told you that the buckling mechanism of this system consists of parallel guideways. So parallel guideways, and at the moment as it touches, the spring parallelograms gets deflected from their initial position. So if x-axis direction, if x-axis is say you want the measurement in x direction, then in that case, when the probe of x direction touches the parallelogram in x direction, the spring parallelogram in x direction only gets deflected. The rest 2 parallelograms, spring parallelograms, they don't deflect. They are not going to change from their initial positions. Okay, so and So parallelogram, so parallel displacement of probes as compared to the original arrangements, it can be easily measured. So it is very easy to get the measurement, because all three the measurements in all three directions are totally independent of one another. So if the probe senses in x direction, the parallelogram, spring parallelogram in x direction only get deflected, and that is say applicable for y direction also, z direction also, and we can take the measurements in the respective directions. Okay, so that is shown over here. You can see this is the measuring type probe system. So x direction, so x direction, then y direction. As you can see, this is in x direction. If the probe is touched, so x direction, then y direction is given, and z direction, as you can see, vertical in this direction, in this direction. So you can see it is shown here also and here also, x direction, y direction, z direction. So the probes. So this was as far as the contact type probes were concerned. Now non-contact type probes, two types of the non-contact type probes are there, that is a laser scanning probe and video probe. So in case of the laser scanning probe, as I told you that there is no contact between the workpiece and the probe. So here the laser probes project a light beam onto the surface of a part. Okay, so a laser beam is projected on the surface whose dimensions are to be taken. So when the light beam is triggered, the position of the beam is read through a lens in the probe receptor. So these tools, laser tools, have a high degree of speed and accuracy. You can see this is the laser scanning probe is there. So this light is going to be is projected on the surface whose dimension is to be taken, and those dimensions will be measured when the light beam is triggered. Then one more probe is there, that is a video probe. So in this probe, the features are measured by the computer count of the pixels of the electronic image. Okay, so in this case the camera is capable of generating measurements point within a single video frame. So here this is the video probe. So this was as far as the different types of the what you can say probes are considered. Apart from this thing, okay, then there is one more concept that is called as a machine vision system. So many times this question is asked in the examination, that is what is a machine vision. In the recent exam only this question was asked for 10 marks, and a lot of times in this this question is asked. So what is this machine vision? So as I told you that all these systems are advanced metrology, all these systems come under the advanced metrology. That's why the machine vision is called as a computer vision, or it is called as intelligent vision, or it is called as a computer aided inspection. So it is defined as it is a technique. This computer machine vision is a technique wherein a sensor, that technique allows a sensor to view a scene and derive the numerical or logical decision without human intervention. Means here, as you can see, it is a technique that allows a sensor. So in this system, a sensor or a camera or CCTV, they are allowed to view a particular situation or particular scene, and by looking at that scene, this system itself will derive a numerical or logical. That system will decide what is that particular scene, and logical decision without human intervention. So there is no human intervention is there. Okay, so you can consider it as a means for simulating the image recognition and analysis capabilities of human eye brain system with electronic and electromechanical techniques. So whatever work which is done by the eye and brain, that is replaced by this particular system. So whenever we take, say, any kind of measurement, we there are two organs are basically say needed, that is eye and the brain. So eye is going to see the situation and brain is going to analyze that situation. So both the things are carried out by this particular technique. That is the system views a scene, so that work is done by eye, and derive numerical or logical decision. So taking decision is the say responsibility of the brain. So that work is also done by the system. That's why it is replacing the human eye and brain system with electronic and electromechanical techniques. So various types of the sensors are there, controllers are there, programs are there which are built in the system. So basically this systems works on the principle of the digital image processing using a TV camera with image processing and analysis units. So basically the system works on the principle of digital image processing. So whatever is seen, that is seen by a particular system, that is converted into a digital image. That digital image is processed, and after processing, that particular image is analyzed, and the information about that image is derived or it is collected. Okay, so this is a basic principle of working of this machine vision system. There are 3 units are there. So as you can see, there are 3 units of this machine vision system. So you can see this is this system which is on the extreme left is called as a image acquisition and digitization. So as I told you that here it works on the principle of digital image processing. So initial work is to acquire the image of that particular situation. So that's why the first unit is a image acquisition and digitization. Second unit is image processing and analysis. So here there is a digitizer, then image processing and analysis. So analyzer is there, that is the second unit, and third one is called as interpretation. So whatever is you have got, whatever you have processed, you have to interpret it. You have to try to get the meaning of the things that you have got. Okay, so interpretation is there. So these 3 units are basically there in the machine vision system. So same. So in order to acquire the image, you will require one camera. Okay, so camera is continuously going to take the video signal. So these are the components whose dimensions are to be measured. Let us assume that these are the components. So you will require a source of light. A good source of light will be required. So it will be focused on the component, and that situation will be continuously say monitored or captured by this camera. Okay, so and this camera is going to capture the image. So same thing is shown here also, machine vision system. As you can see, this is the object, and object is going to image acquisition will be there. So that image will be acquired using so this is the sample whose dimension is to be taken, illumination, that the light source of the light, and this is the computer, this is the camera which is going to take the image, or which is going to take the video of that particular situation, and that will be fed to the computer. So image acquisition part. Okay, then so image acquisition, now let us see this in detail. Image acquisition and digitization is done, or it is accomplished by using a TV video camera. Okay, you can see, or CCD, that is a charge coupled device image sensor, and then digitizing the system. So whatever output of this camera is a continuous video signal. Okay, so you need to digitize the same. The light source here is important, so that can be the light source used for the image formation. It can be, say, incandescent light, it can be fluorescent light, or it can be a strobe light, and likewise that laser beam is used for measuring distances. UV light is used to reduce the glare or increase the contrast. So that is related with the illumination part. You can use any type of the source. Okay, the light source must be correctly placed, because it is going to influence the contrast of the image. Image is very, very important in this case. You must have high quality image, because that image is going to contain the information. That's why high quality image is required, and so to get the high quality image, you will require the high quality video camera, you will require high quality of the illumination at the proper place in proper intensity. That's why the importance is given. Now once light is there, illumination is there, camera is there, so camera is going to take its images. It is going to take the so the output of this TV camera is a continuous video signal. As we know, it is going to shoot the situation, isn't it? So it is a continuous video signal corresponding to a line by line scan of the image focused on the face of the camera tube. So the signal which is the output of this camera is say continuous signal, but the continuous signal is not of any use when you are sending this signal to the computer. Computer does not understand the continuous signal, so it is analog signal. The continuous signal is analog signal. The computer always understands the digital signal. So you have to convert this continuous output signal into the discrete signal, or it should be a digital signal. So for that what you have to do, the signal which is continuous from the camera, it is sampled at equal intervals along each line, and a value is assigned to the magnitude of the signal at each point. So here the continuous signal is broken, or it is sampled at some equal intervals. So it is broken. So after breaking the signal, it becomes a digital signal. Okay, and a numerical value is assigned to magnitude of the signal at each point. So some value is given to that particular signal. Then a sample. So for this you will require a analog to digital converter will be required. ADC will be required. A sample image is then constructed within the image processing computer line by line. Okay, so once the your signal is sampled, then a sample image will be constructed by the image processing computer line by line as a two-dimensional array. Now the picture images, so it will try to form the picture images. The picture images obtained in this way are called as pixels. They are called as pixels. So the number of pixels used decides the spatial resolutions of the stored image. Okay, so more the pixel, more will be the resolution, and better will be the quality of that particular image. Okay, so the intensity should also be good in order to get the good quality image. The intensity value of each pixel is converted into a digital value by analog to digital converter. So the intensity of each pixel, as the picture image is formed, as the pixel is formed, the intensity value of each pixel is converted into a digital value by ADC converter, that is analog to digital converter. So now the image processor consists of two units, that is a frame grabber and frame store. So whatever discussed, it is given here. Okay, so image processor, the image processor consists of two units, that is a frame grabber and frame store. So the grabber is the A to D converter, that is analog to digital converter. We are still in the first unit, so we are still here in this unit itself, image acquisition and digitization. Okay, so frame grabber is going is the analog to digital converter, which converts the analog voltage levels of camera into digital level needed by the computer. As I told you, the computer understands the language of the only digital language only. It does not understand the analog language. So that the frame grabber is going to do that activity, A to D conversion. The frame store stores the data, and second unit of the image processor is the frame store. So the frame store is going to store the data obtained. So that frame store has got the memory to hold the entire image. Okay, so each set of the pixel value is called as or it is referred as a frame. So there is a set of pixels, set of pixel values, so that set of pixel value is called as a frame. So each frame consists of digitized pixel values, which is stored in the computer memory. Okay, so each set of pixel value is referred as a frame, and that consists of digitized pixel values. The process of recording all the pixel values, in a frame is done at the rate of 30 times per second. So this is the first unit. This is the first unit of the machine vision system. Okay. Then the second unit of the machine vision system is the image processing and analysis. So image processing and analysis is called as referred as a segmentation. As you can this is the second unit, that is the image processing. So image processing consists of a segmentation. It is called as a segmentation, which is shown here. So it is a threshold, region, gradient, classification based. So segmentation can be based on any of these, say 4 parameters. So what is done in this case? In in this case whatever image you have obtained, that image is processed and analyzed here. So here image processing is nothing but segmentation. So segmentation, what is the purpose of the segmentation? The purpose of the segmentation is to define and separate the regions of interest within the image. So within the image we may be interested in some part of that particular image. So we want to separate the regions of our interest within that image. We may not need the entire image, we may need a part of the image. So segmentation is done to define the separate regions of the interest. Then how this is done, how this is carried out? The segmentation is done in two ways, that is a thresholding and edge detection. So thresholding means what? It involves the conversion of each pixel level into binary value representing black or white. Edge detection involves determination of location of boundaries between the object and its surroundings in the image. So these are the advanced techniques in which image is processed. Third, this is the second part where image processing and its analysis is carried out. Third part is the interpretation. So interpretation is nothing but the recognition of the object. So the computer will try to understand what is that image, what is that particular object, what is the shape of that object, what is the particular measurement, what is the particular size of that object. So the computer will try to interpret or try to recognize, it will try to identify. So or it will try to recognize the pattern, and it will detect any discrepancies, what are the discrepancies are there. Means suppose if you are measuring a dimension of a particular shaft, so the master dimensions are already fed into the computer. So the dimensions of the master component are compared with the actual component, and the computer will try to find out the discrepancies in that particular dimension, and whatever discrepancies are there, those will be calculated by the system. There is the techniques used for this interpretation are template matching and weighting. These are the two techniques. So here two techniques are used, that is a template matching and weighting. So as you can see here, these are the two techniques. So template matching, in the template matching, the image is compared pixel by pixel with the template. So standard template is already built in the computer. Okay, as I told you that if you want to measure the dimension of shaft, so the template of that master shaft is already fed into the computer. So that template is matched with the actual shaft, and that comparison is made, and the computer will try to detect the discrepancies or deviations between the standard component and the actual component. So it is done by comparing the pixel by pixel with the template. In feature weighting, another technique, several features are combined into a single measure by assigning a weight to each feature according to its relative importance in identifying the objects. Means if you are trying to identify object, every object will have some of its own features. So all such features So the image the object identification is done by comparing the features. So the features of the standard component and the features of the actual component, these two are say compared, or weightage, some kind of weightage is given to the features according to its relative importance, and depending upon the weight the components are identified. So this is basic three parts of the machine vision system are there. So as I told you that image, capturing the image is very important part in the machine vision system. So the cameras used must be of good qualities. So basically there are two types of the cameras are used: solid state cameras and thermionic cameras. So the solid state cameras operate by focusing the image into two-dimensional array of photosensitive element. Okay, these cameras are smaller, more rugged, and retain the spatial relationship between pixels more accurately. These are the say, features of these solid state cameras, because we want the image of very high quality. Okay. They can also be calibrated for linearity on a one-time basis, so that all subsequent measurements are automatically corrected. So calibration can be done. Then these are very helpful when you want very accurate dimensional measurements. Basically we want the dimensional measurement. Then another type of the camera is the thermionic cameras. Okay, so these cameras operate by scanning the image with an electronic beam. So electronic beam is going to be used to scan that particular image. So these cameras can distinguish small change better than the solid state cameras. So that is another feature of this thermionic cameras, and provide great deal of information about the object at very fast speed. So they can give more information. So these are the types of the cameras that are used. So many times this question is asked, as I told you, machine vision, and then advantages and applications. So machine vision is having a lot of advantages as well as application. So these machine vision techniques can be used for checking the dimensions. Basically it can be say any type of the dimension, let it be linear dimension, let it be geometrical dimensions. It can check anything. It can check the overall shape of the component, whether that particular component is perfectly rectangle, perfectly circular, and any type of the shape. It can check the surface finish also of the objects. It can check the surface roughness. We have already seen the surface roughness. So it can check the surface finish of the objects, and very important, at very fast rate. It is, all these things are done at very fast rate. You can say it is online inspection. As the component gets manufactured, it is being checked, or sometimes it may be checked in process also. So when only the okay components will be accepted, non-okay components will be rejected directly by the system. So the rate of inspection of the components by this method is very high. Okay. Second, whenever we are comparing the image with the template, it is not necessary that the component is exactly aligned with the master as needed in the conventional method. Whenever in conventional method, whenever we compare the two components, we need to align these two components, isn't it? But that is not the case in the machine vision. Here you can just align the you can keep the components in any kind of orientation. No specific orientation is required, no alignment is required when you want to compare the image with the template. So that is one more advantage. Then vision sensor can be mounted on a robot arm for inspection of the complicated parts. So sometimes it is not possible for the human to probe the sensor. So in that case you can mount that vision sensor sensors on a robotic arm when the parts are complicated or there is a risk, some kind of risk is involved. So that in that case robot arm can be used. So that is another advantage. Now when required to inspect a fast moving part, the motion can be freezed using image sensor. So the motion can be freezed, so the image is read at slow speed and is fed to the computer for the analysis. So that can be done. Then apart from this, we can some advantages which are not written, which are common sense advantages are there, that the system functions reliably without fatigue. Since there is no human is required, there is no possibility of the fatigue, and it is very reliable. The system is very reliable. So these are some of the advantages and applications of the machine vision system. So today we have discussed the types of the probes in the coordinate measuring machine. What are the types of the probes in the CMM, and we have seen the machine vision system parts, basic units of the machine vision system, how this system works, advantages and applications of the machine vision techniques. So we'll stop here.